All right, Dark Souls should have never succeeded. Let's go.
Dark Souls. I love Dark Souls. I love this thing more than Tom Brady loves his own son. And if you're wondering why every YouTuber with a checkmark seems to eventually make a video about this thing, it's because even though we've all played the same game, everyone walks away with it with a different story to tell.
Very
It's
true.
a deeply personalized experience where the hardest enemy you had to defeat in the game is yourself. And the camera. I've never seen a game so recommended by other people and so scheduled to addictive that it resembles a prescription. Most community members will even recommend it for a whole host of mental debuffs, and it makes sense. The gameplay of Dark Souls is a digital cold plunge, and its lore and characters are more inspirational than most Goggins podcast clips.
That's amazing, dude. How did he do this shit, dude? Yeah, it really is, honestly. But how the fuck... Dude, this guy is good, man. He green screened the shit out of this. And he even got, like, the same costume as his character? Wow, what a legend.
So scheduled to addictive that it resembles a prescription.
Yeah,
Most
apparently.
community members will even recommend
I never heard of this dude. He's really good already.
it for a whole host of
Hell yeah, good luck, dude. If you need help, just come back and feel free to ask.
mental debuffs, and it makes sense. The gameplay of Dark Souls is a digital cold plunge, and its lore and characters are more inspirational than most Goggins podcast clips.
I was running by a graveyard. I was fat. And I ran by a graveyard, and I looked out there. I was fat. And I was running a 300-pound man thinking, man,
Its themes of overcoming adversity in the face
Damn.
of defeat go far beyond just its characters.
Priscilla.
On launch, the
Or
original
right before,
Dark
after
Souls
it.
came out of buttfuck nowhere with nothing to its name, in one of the most fragile states a video game can release in.
Dude, honestly, I remember vividly, like, the day that Dark Souls came out, and it was, like, me and my sister's ex-husband, Nick, and we just did a lot of cocaine, and we just played the fuck out of it, dude. We just, like, straight up, like, we just all night, we stayed up for, like, 2 days straight, and we beat the fuck out of the game. And it was so sick. And we did it on day one, like, when it was fucked up. You would have all the way to, like, 10% when you would die. Yeah, I mean, this is a long time ago. I don't do drugs anymore. But I don't even do weed anymore or even alcohol. But back in the day, dude, yeah, we went hard. It was so sick. Oh, dude, Dark Souls was so... Like, the first time you see that alligator... What was the thing? That the beast with, like, there's, like, a giant alligator, but, like, his little head is, like, an alligator. I forgot what he was called, but... So many good memories. And that's when Mac and Nier were both pretty young and spring chickens, and they were stealing sandwiches from our laps.
One of the most influential titles in the last 13 years of
Gaping
gaming.
Dragon.
It created a
Yeah.
genre. It created a culture. It created whole ass jobs for people to just talk about its story on the
He's
internet.
right.
It inspired hundreds of Souls-like games, even some good ones. But despite all of its legacy,
Most
the
of them
Souls
suck.
franchise wouldn't even exist
Oh, that song is so good.
if it weren't for Sony cock-watching the success of the Xbox 360 during the heat of the console wars and tried to rip off one of their best-selling games. And failed. We'll get to that in a second.
Wait,
But
what?
Before we get into how this franchise almost didn't even exist and that Demon Souls actually wasn't created by Miyazaki at the start, I
It was
recently
the good
had
old days.
surgery and I live in America. So, you already know it's sponsor time. Big thanks to Opera.
Oh, yeah, okay. We should watch it. We need to be thankful he gave us his video.
But Chrome has been completely shitting itself lately. Ever since YouTube went the whole pay-to-win formula with premium, I feel like everything's been lagging out constantly.
Okay, low-key, I have to speak on this matter. Hey, Vincent. Starship 7 breakup crashing down. I thought it succeeded. Like the engine thing, the Musk thing. Yeah, right. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you have to. I will say, Opera is a Chromium-based browser, so you're not really. It's not that different, but it has other features and stuff like that. To be fair, but they do hella track your shit. I'll just be real with you, okay? Like you have to understand what you're getting into. If you're gonna not, it's not like a privacy thing. It is more performant from what I've gathered.
Fact that it takes more resources than After Effects, and I pay for premium. So I decided to try out Opera GX because all my YouTube buddies were using it, and they make a lot of kind of
It's the
mildly
gaming
and funny
one.
mid-tier jokes on Twitter. And as a mindless consumer, that means something to me.
I like this guy. I like him a lot.
Couple weeks now, and it's pretty great.
Wait, hold up. Your English is Demon Souls didn't like Shohei Yoshida, and most people think they did the Dark Souls as a gamble. Really? Whoa, I didn't know that. I thought that they were, like, successful even then. Because, like, before that, King's Field and Armored Core were kind of, like, their two main cash cows.
It's a web browser, so like don't go fucking crazy. Or maybe you should, because Opera kind of mogs the fuck out of Chrome.
Wait,
So
what's
let me
the
tell you
anime
why.
girl?
First off, it actually runs YouTube faster than Chrome with like 1/10 of the resources. So it's finally nice to click a YouTube video without it like.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
post-migrating.
Maybe it
But
is
that's
more
just the start.
performant.
Say you're someone on the spectrum and you're watching one of those 6-hour-long YouTube video essays on a title that you don't care about and will probably still watch twice. If you open up another tab while it's playing,
Fuck.
that window will now show up anywhere on your desktop that you can resize and reposition. That is the coolest thing I've
That
ever
is a
seen.
good feature.
Chrome doesn't do that.
Firefox does.
I don't know why. It gets even better. Opera
Yeah.
has these things called mods, which allow you to completely
This
overhaul
petty?
the look
Pretty?
and feel of the
Damn.
browser with things like custom
Fuck.
animations, backgrounds, shaders, sounds that play whenever you open or close tabs or type. Yeah, this is nice. It's nice, but it's not the pipe sound effect.
Oh my god.
You can customize the stuff to your
This
heart's
was made
content
for
and
you.
even install a Dank Souls mod, because that's the theme of the video. And
To Final
life's
Fantasy?
Not depressing enough for you. Opera is loaded with tons of other features too. They have all the
Wait, you can choose how much RAM it uses? That's pretty cool. Yoshida said it was too hard. I mean, it was, honestly. It was really fucked up, dude. Day 1 Dark Souls. So fucked up.
with Discord and Twitter, and they also have this little AI assistant thing for all your quirky little AI needs.
Aria.
It's 2024 and everything.
This is
needs
pretty
that now.
cool.
Also, every single plugin that works in
Oh,
Chrome
demons, I
also
see.
works in Opera, so the transition is super easy. And lastly, Opera actually lets you limit CPU and RAM usage, which is crazy that other programs don't do this. This
Tuning?
is like, it's
Predicting the
Opera's fantastic.
future?
I'm telling you, Opera GX comes
Shit,
hot
maybe
and
it's
burning,
pretty good.
so
You
don't
guys should
be
give it a shot.
So download it today for free using the link down in the description. Thank
Use
you guys
his
for being
link.
patient.
You know
Now that I
what?
have my medical bills paid, we can go on to the rest of the video.
You know what? Let's do this man a solid. Where's that link? Yeah, manly. Yeah, let's get that shit. You know, I can't believe these motherfuckers aren't even pasting the fucking... Oh, shit. What? Wait, hold up. Don't click that. I don't know what that is. Okay. There you go. Okay, yeah, here we go. Okay, that's the one. That's the one. Anyway, back to the video.
I've been wanting to talk about this game ever since 2015, and to this day, it is still my second favorite experience I've ever had that involves this amount of dudes and
That's number one.
the first being Dark Souls 3. But
Damn.
unlike that game, which served as the entry point for many people into the series, the first Dark Souls was the one that originally popped my humanity on the Souls franchise. And ever since my first playthrough, I know I'd be stroking this thing off till the end of time.
Why is his butt
Oh
bleeding?
man, that sure was not the case, and this runty little thing barely stumbled
That
out into the
fucking
consoles
sucks.
half finished and into the hands of basically no one. I know you may not remember it, but this hairline does not forget, okay? This game was not the instant hood classic we all thought it was. Which sounds insane to say given the way it's talked about, but in reality, most people didn't give a fuck about the Dark Souls franchise until 5 years after its initial release. Once Blood
That's kind of low-key true. No one really knew, because I remember when I saw this game, it was like, holy shit, how is this, you know, I've never heard of it. I didn't even know what Demon Souls was, but it was because of, again, my ex-brother-in-law. He was like the one that was saying it's pretty sick to do it. Hey, Panda, back to bed. Have a good night, sir. Have a good night, sir. Well, hello and goodbye. GX, thanks, family reviews. What's this? We'll check it out in a second. We'll check it out in a second. Or I'll, copy here so I don't forget. Control C. Okay, whatever. I'll just have it there. Oh,
Souls of Dark 5 years after its initial
Yeah, there we
release,
go.
once Bloodborne gave everyone an unscratchable itch for the formula. As someone who's played this gem on a PS3, Dark Souls really was the Demon Souls of Dark Souls when it came out.
It was.
Even despite all of its jank and shortcomings, Dark Souls was still able to offer players one of the most unique experiences that you could
building.
physically buy in one of those shrink-wrapped DVD box cases with like the wrong game in it. Fuck. I couldn't find it. So what made this game so special that
this-
it made everyone
dude.
run out and not buy it until 5 years after its
I cannot even tell you what this woman has done for so many of these Dark Souls fans. Holy shit. Do you think I can use my Steam game installs that I use with Windows on Fedora? You can. It's going to be on an NTFS partition. You can load it, but yeah, you can technically. 100%. It might not be as performant, but I think it should be fine. I mean, like NTFS is not native, but now it's like you can. Yeah, you can do it. You can do it. Just don't delete it. Just add it to your fstab, and FS tab file and Etsy FS tab, and then you can get it there. Basically, well, I'll do it later.
Well, it's actually a pretty complicated story, but to understand what was going on around the time of its launch, we have to go back to the year.
Wait, I like completely lost my train of thought.
Box cases with like the wrong game in it. Fuck. I couldn't find it. So what made this game so special that it made everyone run out and not buy it until 5 years after its release? Well, it's actually a pretty complicated story, but to understand what was going on around the time of its launch, we have to go back to the year 2011.
Here we go. Wait, just give me a second. This isn't having the effect I was hoping it would, but that's okay. Where is it? Oh, that's 3. Yeah. We can play it. We can play the OG one. Exactly. Got the real shit. You may just wipe and re-download. Yeah, it's probably the best thing because you want it to be on an ext4 partition. Yeah, we can play it, and we can play it unpatched as well. Yeah, we can play it on console. And dude, unpatched, it's fucked up. Like, I don't think you guys understand. It really was hard. It was insane. But now it's like, I'm the best, dude. I can beat the shit out of this game. Anyway, let's continue. Oh, what's up, Kodama? How you been? Hope you've been well.
Welcome to the year 2011. Shit's bitchin'. The United
Really?
States just took out Osama bin Laden, but that's not stopping the game industry from dropping bombs.
That was crazy, by the way, when they did that. SEAL Team 6. Yeah, what up, Hunter Kodama? Hope you've been good. Unpatched, I think, was a totally different lighting as well. It's like literally darker. Was it? It looked different. But for me, the biggest thing was the health percentage and like how hard it was.
Skyrim, the official release of Minecraft, Dank Souls, Portal 2, etc.
I've never
However,
beaten
over the
Portal
last several
or
years,
played
there's
it
been
too
growing
much.
discomfort over the reduction in gaming difficulty, with many people placing the blame directly on casual players and the companies trying to cater to them. While
Pussies.
that's definitely a factor, in reality, our entire understanding of what a video game could be has radically changed over the course of the
Bayonetta,
2000s.
nice.
Games are becoming longer with a heavier emphasis on story and narrative, where deaths play kind of an unnatural part of that experience. Health is now something that can regenerate. Hell, even
Damn.
the term game over feels like something your mom would say when describing the Nintendo Station 360. These aren't necessarily
So here's the thing, is that's a really good point. Huge FPS drop? Wait, really? Wait, are we good? Are we good? We effing or no? I remember when John Cena announced that they had this eliminating Osama on Raw before the news announced it. I did not know that, honestly. Oh, Dark Souls 1, yeah, it was 30 FPS, but I think with some magic of emulation, we can maybe do it a little bit better. Yeah, okay, good. We're good. But to be fair, honestly, games are way too long. And like he was saying, like deaths in the old days would expand the lifetime of a game. Like, we were playing Super Mario Bros. 3 the other day, and that game is like, you can beat it in an hour if you're not, like, exercising like hell every single time or whatever, and doing all the skips. And it's still, like, one of the greatest games of all time. We have too much content in our games, and they need to fucking chill out. I don't have that much time to give a fuck. Remastered? Hell no, man. That's pussy stuff, dude. You gotta play the real shit, the OG one. Oh, okay. I didn't know that they had a mod to do that. Maybe that might be the play. That might be the play. I'll look into both options. I didn't realize that there was a mod for that.
things per se, but for a lot of people, that sense
I
of
love this
accomplishment that came from a solid challenge and a shared experience with friends had kind of evaporated. At the very same time,
true.
though, we saw a massive increase in the inclusion of difficulty sliders, which makes a lot of sense. Rarely does one size ever fit all, and every pussy's different. But some were implemented vastly better than others, sometimes acting as a band-aid for shitty development and lazy balancing. While
That's-
it did give players
Skyrim is the worst example of this shit. The pussy stuff was yeah, no, 100%. This guy thinks the same way I do. I like him a lot. Where's the fucking here? Yeah. I didn't know about this guy. Oh, this is the wrong channel. Okay, who cares? Yeah.
know what the element in lazy
Yeah, this game fucking sucks at this, dude. There is no point of the difficulty slider. It just ruins everything. It doesn't improve anything. It's the worst game. You should never play this game on hard mode. Skyrim is trash when it comes to the difficulty slider. And honestly, it's really fucked up because even if you go into if you look into Godot, right, in this game engine, You can get, there's a other node, and then it would be like difficulty. Wait, what the fuck is it called again? Oh, maybe they took it out. But there was a node that would basically serve as that. And so this is like some weird like common thing in game design shit. How do you make Elder Scrolls hard though? I don't know, but there shouldn't be a difficulty slider. I think that there should never exist that. That's really, it ruins the game completely. Because you can never actually balance it.
The options, most people didn't even know
Yeah,
what
but
the options were. To this day, I
Yeah,
still don't
it comes
even
with the
know
default one. It's like, it's encouraged, I guess, by game engines.
what easy, medium, or hard even translates to half the time. Does it change the number of enemies, the amount of health they have, their accuracy, detection, the amount of items that drop, the puzzles, and if it does, by how much? How the fuck am I, a new player to a game, supposed to know what best suits the gameplay? I much prefer having competent devs kind of figure that out for me, or at least change in-game things to match what difficulty I want. That's just me though. Obviously, a lot of games greatly benefit from this, but back then, people got super heated over this shit. As a result, this created fertile soil
Fuck that room.
for a game that had greater difficulty to release around this time and carve itself a niche player base. Yeah, y'all know what's coming next. Ooh, big twist, Dark Souls, the big hard game to spank all the people in the zippers and whips. That much is painfully obvious. But it's really not the full picture. In fact, it's just the tip of the iceberg. For us to understand where this game is even coming from, we have to go all the way back to the start of the 7th generation of console wars, back in 2000.
This guy's good at editing, damn.
It all starts with this one game called Demon Souls.
Wait,
No,
that's-
stop.
that's
every
him?
motherfucker on YouTube gets this wrong. See, most people think that the director of the Soul series, Miyazaki, just decided to one day create Demon Souls and then, we were off to the races. In reality, the game was already being developed before he even entered the picture while he was playing with Gundams in the corner. The real story of Demon Souls
Weeb.
starts with the release of the Xbox 360.
Damn.
And it is killing Sony.
Was 360 really that big of a deal?
When developing the 360, Microsoft made the decision
Man, get the fuck out of here. I wasn't 30 in 2005. I was 14.
the creation of the console. And while it gave it a pretty nasty case of ringworm, it ended up beating Sony to market by a whole year, which was a huge blow to their finances. After all, you're more likely to buy the console that your friends already own, and that's especially true with the way they were pushing Xbox Live.
Check this out.
And if that wasn't enough, the console was also half the price of the PS3 whenever that came out. Keep in mind, we were still, for the most part, paying for music back then. Money was tight, people typically only bought one console, and yellow card CDs aren't going to pay for themselves. By the time the PS3 made its way to market, it had already priced itself out of the hands of many potential buyers. And it didn't help that it also had no games on launch.
Oh, that's fucking right. It was $600 initially, right? I completely forgot about that. I'm so old, damn Toonie. You're so young, dude. 360 was a bitch in console. So many good games that never left that console, though. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. But yeah, honestly, because I remember we would talk so much shit about the 360. We'd be like, wow, look at this piece of shit. But it was like, when we were fanboys and stuff. But ironically, I was ending up playing that the most. And it was like Call of Duty 4 with the original zombies. I remember we used to play that and that UFC game.
Shocker. At this early on, Sony is doing everything in their power to increase their market share. So they start spying on
Toonie's a youngin'.
Microsoft for some ideas. One franchise
Panda's 30, okay? Don't let him fucking fool you. He's old too.
in particular catches their eye, which goes by the name of the Elder Scrolls. They see that Oblivion is kicking ass and taking names, and they want a piece of that open world action RPG shitty ass AI market share.
I love dogs. Doesn't everyone?
No, they fucking don't! So they start
fuck them
shopping
dogs.
around in search of some jolly
Capra Demon
cooperation
hallway.
with a studio that can create something similar when they spot a medieval dark fantasy series called Kingsfield by FromSoft.
Okay, we might have to play this. Kingsfield is one of my favorite games of all time, 1 and 2. I've never played anything beyond that. This game is really good. I played it in college, and it was the most fun. In fact, we might have to play that after Cyberpunk or whatever. I don't know. We'll play a bunch of games all at the same time. 10 years younger than you? Hell no. There's some dudes that are older. Sasha's older than us. Isaac's older than us. I want to see you play Cyberpunk. We're going to play it eventually. Don't worry. 100%. 360 was better socially. PS3 superior games. Socially is probably a better thing anyway.
So they hit them up, they slip them a crisp $20 bill under the table and say, we want a game that can dethrone Oblivion. So they shake hands and begin to create their own version of the Elder Scrolls. They start building this thing, and about a year or two after the development, it's a congratulations, it's a piece of shit. It's so bad they can't even get their prototypes to run. Hey, FromSoft, ever happened to that Oblivion clone that we commissioned for you guys that was supposed to be pushing the boundaries of what video games can physically do in this day
Oh,
and
it was a
age?
Sony thing?
Sir, we're the studio that made this.
Okay, don't talk shit, man. Come on. Kingsfield is amazing, okay?
Yeah, that's our bad. It's so hopeless that Sony and FromSoft just agreed to write the whole thing off as a silly round and move on. Sony ended up getting the rights to Oblivion anyway, so it worked out for them. However, word eventually makes its way to this guy named Miyazaki, who takes one look at the wreckage and sees the opportunity of a lifetime. So he asks around to see if he can take point on the game and lead it into a...
Whoa, what the hell? That's what it looked like? Wait, I never thought it. Like, Demon Souls cover. Oh, wow, they really improved on it, damn. That's what I thought. Yeah, it seemed like higher res, but that's what it used to look like? Damn.
different direction and actually
I just kill them all?
thing into something marketable. The beauty part is, though, even though he's never done something like this, if the project fails, no one gives a fuck. It's the perfect environment for him to spitball ideas with absolutely nothing to lose. So he dumps the idea of it being an Oblivion clone and goes in almost the opposite direction. He wanted to recreate that feeling of exploring a foreign world where you feel cautious with every step you take, and create an action RPG that didn't rely on simple quest completion as the reward. He instead set out to make the gameplay itself feel satisfying, compelling players to strategize and improve in order to overcome challenges by making the game extremely punishing, placing the brunt of the responsibility on the player's skill itself instead of just artificial difficulty.
Whoa,
So
I've
when you
never
die in the
seen
game,
any
you
of
don't think
this.
it's just because the game is poorly designed and unjust. Rather, I screwed up because I'm a dumbass and I need to be more careful. This turned death into a very teachable moment for the player. Something you really want to avoid.
Analysis, don't be a dumbass. I've never played this game. I've started in Dark Souls 1. Is that Patches? Patches is in this game? Oh.
You don't think it's just because the
Maybe.
game is poorly designed and unjust. Rather,
It's good, yeah, I hear so
I'm
much.
a dumbass and I need to be more careful. This turned death into a
Oh,
very
it is.
teachable
Actually,
moment
wait,
for the
now I know
player.
what you mean. Yeah,
Something
that does
you
happen.
really want to avoid doing because it halves your fucking health. Hard but fair, my ass. Miyazaki definitely went a little too far on this one, and even
Nah,
he
nah,
knew
just
it. Because
don't
when
be a
it came
pussy,
time
that's
for him
all.
to represent the game to Sony executives, he actually had to hide the fact that when you die, you lose half your health, and he was
Never
actually
mind.
legitimately worried that he had made the game too hard once they had finally baked the whole thing together. But oops, too late. Time to test the game out. They finally release it at the Tokyo
True.
Game Show, and people just kinda hate it. In one of the most historical moments of the franchise, the Sony executive even went on record after playing it and said this is an unbelievably bad game. And to his credit, this is something that everyone says when they try the Souls games out for the first time. It's
Wow.
just, you gotta get it out of your system. We'll get back to this. But the president is so ticked off by the game that he doesn't even let them release it outside of the country.
Whoa, really? What the fuck? I don't know why. Like, why does difficulty even, like, affect people that negatively? Like, it should be difficult. It should be a challenge. That's the whole point. Because then at that point, you may as well watch a movie. Like, if you're not going to even, like, engage in it that deeply. I'd say the same thing with people playing Silent Hill. Yeah, skill issue for sure. Like, if you're playing Silent Hill, people will always play that shit on, like, normal and stuff. It's like, no. It's like, it's supposed to be, like, a harrowing. You're supposed to, like, be sweating balls and stuff like that. Don't want to try hard after a long 10-hour shift. I get that, but it's like, you know, doesn't the difficulty provide you that escapism? You know, it's a nice difficulty. I would do the same. Like, when I would have, like, a full-ass shift at work, I would go and play the fuck out of Dark Souls. I don't know. Playing Donkey Kong Country, yeah. So people were more comfortable with that, I feel. Wait, what's that? At this point in time, they started making games for the story. Okay, I guess it was a different paradigm. Weird. I wonder where it lulled out. Interesting.
It launches officially in Japan, and it just completely tanks, which always seems to be the case no matter what game I talk about on this channel. I swear, those motherfuckers only play, like, Pokemon and Pachinko. But people start importing the game into the West, and the sales numbers grow to about 100,000. Nothing huge here, but that's much better from 20K, and pretty good for word of mouth.
It's pretty
FromSoft are
impressive.
actually kind of happy about it, and people start asking for an official release in the States, so Atlas, yes,
That's a lot if you think about it just being in Japan. Games need to frame their difficulty, though, to convince the player to get good at, so you can't just drop them off. That's true. It's like a bit of a, you know, you putting breadcrumbs to, you know, really lean in, get the player to lean into the game. Gears of War, Halo, Twilight Princess, Metroid Prime, Uncharted, etc. That was a golden age.
That Atlas, for some reason, roll the dice on it and decide to import the thing officially into the US. And sales ramp up. Over the next year, it would grow to sell 1 million copies, thanks in part to GameSpot elevating it to Game of the Year, which was an incredibly bold move at the time.
Twilight Princess? I gotta play that, fuck.
Turned into game journalism.
And GameSpot's 2009 Game of the Year is...
Shitty USB mic.
Demon Souls.
Oh, that's the Paizuri, whatever the fuck his name.
Satisfying, and then there's all those dudes waiting there for you hard, and it just makes you feel this camaraderie, even though you can't actually them in the game.
Here's the crazy part in all this. Miyazaki doesn't know that. The sales of Demon Souls didn't pick up until a whole year after he was already developing Dark Souls. The poise stat on this guy is like insane. Even though he's still operating on the premise that Demon Souls was a failure, he still is confident enough that he knows what he needs to do this time around to perfect his formula. And once they get word of the cult following growing in the West, these guys go full steam ahead.
Okay, this is important. To be honest, you have to develop in isolation. There is no question about it. The thing is that when people are always thinking they're being watched, they're going to do things and design it in a certain way with a certain light. So if you have a bunch of pussy ass people going around saying, "Oh, like this game sucks" or whatever, you can't think about that. It's like reading the comments on on social media. If you do that, like, and you like take other people's like opinions and stuff like that into account, you can't really be fully authentic. It's kind of like if you commission an artist, right? You kind of have to let them like fully go like ham, right? Even with the stuff like Drake is the one that's making those YouTube shorts or whatever, like it doesn't make sense for me to have any say on what he does. Like he needs to have 100% artistic freedom. And he's doing it at he said that he enjoys doing it, so he's doing it out of his own will. So it's like there's no point in having that go there, right? It's the same thing with like devs and stuff like that. Yeah, you'd make a game not built for you after that point. Exactly. That's why Dark Souls 2 was shit. Is that really what happened? Like they were really like listening to feedback? I know it wasn't Miyazaki. It was like his wife or something like that, or there was some lady that wasn't doing it. Yeah. I still love Dark Souls 2, but it definitely didn't do as well, I think, as the main baseline games, if I'm not mistaken. Oh wait, let them draw the nipples like the little Drew dots instead of force them to be hyper realistic. Exactly. Why do you think Zelda has those fish people? You know, if it was supposed to. I always feel like I'm being watched.
See what punishment they're dishing out.
Yeah. Dude, so I was watching that from an Asmongold video. Yeah, but I agree 100%. Yeah. Yes, but I mean like physically.
This time around, Miyazaki has unequipped the gloves
Feels
and is
bad.
working one-on-one with every single developer. No creative managers, no micromanagers. This is some organic-ass farm-to-table development. He went ahead and named every single character, boss, enemy in the game, as well as every single line of text that appears, including menus. This guy knows exactly what he wants. However, it isn't just his vision. He explicitly instructs his artists to always add their own flair and touches to whatever designs they're working on, so they can give him a fresh perspective that he can incorporate. It's even reported that he'd constantly philosophize with his team about all the esoteric concepts of the game, and how they all make sense in the context of the world they are continually writing and rebuilding. The reason he's doing this is that it's creating basically a bunch of little mini Miyazakis that are all on the same exact page as him during development. That's why he was so confident.
That was the most random boss, by the way. But what he is saying is completely true. Like, and look at it, Dark Souls and, well, Souls in general and like Elden Rings and all that business, they're like the most like some of the most best-selling games of all time. I mean, look at Elden Ring and all that. I mean, hell, their $40 DLC sold more than like, you could combine like 40 different games together in some cases, right? Artistic freedom is really, really important. And that's basically the problem with AAA. You have a bunch of these dumbass executives like, put the microtransactions or whatever the fuck in it. Yeah, to be honest, I didn't appreciate Dark Souls, so I saw the Berserk references. Interesting. But, you know, it was there, and it was there to be found, and you did find it. And that's what's cool. It's like a whole gold mine of like cool-ass juicy things.
Dark Souls 2 go to like other members of his staff because he wanted to see what the series would turn into without it being limited to him. Although that kind of had its own developmental hell, and they ended up actually firing one of the directors. But that's a different. That's a whole video I'm waiting to make. Miyazaki's spurting out on all the details when ding, 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 they run into a problem and it's pencils down. You got to turn into shit, and it's not finished, not even close. So he does that thing where you just fill in the rest of the bubbles and hope you get a few extra points in. That's why there's areas in the second half of the game that feel kind of content-aware filled. Although they made one of the most revolutionary games in about a 2-year span. So
Sense Fortress.
Take it with a grain of salt. There's actually one final problem that they're running into now, and that's they don't have a name for the game. Sony still technically owns the rights to Demon Souls, and they can't use that. So this fucking genius decides to name the game Dark Race. Like, dog, how do you not? Like, that's already a... They're in the game. Whatever.
Dude, the Jubilant Katarina. Wait, it was Jubilant Katarina or something?
Not.
Or Jubilant...
That's already... they're in...
Yeah, Jubilant Katarina. That's my favorite. I only pick Jubilant Katarina 100%. That's really funny. That's really funny.
Whatever. So he tries to settle on the name by calling it Dark Ring, which I think is fine, but apparently people around him were saying that's a euphemism for butthole, so it's Project Dark for the time being. It makes its first public appearance at Tokyo Game Show once again under that same name, only for it to get quickly overshadowed by demos of Devil May Cry and The Last Guardian. The game finally launches globally in...
I heard The Last Guardian sucked. A lot. Never played it though.
Souls fans are stoked on it. Weirdly enough, critics actually received it quite well. Its level design and satisfying combat earned it high marks for being quite different than the grain of current releases at the time, branding it with that notorious hard but fair reputation. But that reputation only applied to the people that actually saw the game through. For everyone else that played it, the game was notoriously hard and bullshit and kind of ugly and makes no fucking sense. And what are those hitboxes? And I swear I rolled that. I fucking rolled that. Only the first half of that hard but fair reputation seemed to stick to its branding, coming across as more of a gimmick to uninformed players. To the point where they even branded the DLC of the game Prepare to Die Edition to lean into that word of mouth, because at the time it was the only thing that really had going for it in terms of organic marketing.
Took me a second.
But aside from that niche of cult followers from Demon Souls, the real reason Dark Souls didn't pick up into an instant hood classic wasn't because the people that played it were getting pissed. It's because people weren't playing it at all. See, whenever a game is shown off through trailers or advertisements, its ultimate goal is to convey the
yo, what is that game?
At all. See, whenever a game is shown off...
What's that? Does anyone know? With the lady and looks kind of like Samus, I guess? Is that, does anyone know? I mean, that's gotta be Samus, right? Other M? Oh, shit. Yeah, Chevello's like a Nintendo, like, expert. He knows his stuff. Oh. Cool. Damn, fucking good job, dude. Metroid Tech demo. Okay, but it might be, maybe it's originally, because the one I wanted to play was Metroid, not Fusion. I've only played the two games, Fusion and Fusion 2. It's the GameCube, Metroid GameCube one. Metroid Prime, yeah. I've always wanted to play this, but I never had the thing for it. Could be Prime too, yeah. Fuck you. Where is it? What? Give me a second. Give me a second. What the fuck? Okay, sorry. Give me a second. I apologize. Okay, and then boom, and then boom. Okay, what's going on here? 1628. Okay. What the fuck? Okay. Come on. What happened? I don't really know what to do. What the hell? Why is that not working? Maybe I just need to close it and then reopen it. Don't say that to me. Don't say that to me. Oh, you are? Nice. Congratulations. Congrats. Don't let my little blunder over here, you know, dissuade you. Save. Activated. And then if I, like, do this. Okay, this is pissing me off. Uh-oh. Oh, I fucked up. Shit. Okay. Wait, are we even live? Are we still live? No, I can't even tell. Yeah, I'm still live? Okay. I can't control OBS. All right. What the fuck has the penguin done? No, it's my fault. That's really bad what I did. Here's what I can possibly do. If I close that. Just 2. All right. I don't really know what to do. I wish I could show you what's fucked up, but I can't. All right, well, BRB. I'll have to go offline for a second here. Here, you guys can see it and go away in real time.
The ultimate goal is to convey to you an experience. That's where the value is to a player. Turns out, it's really fucking hard to do that if your game is unsexy.
Sorry.
And Dark Souls had some pretty saggy-ass granny titties upon release. Around this time, games like
It
Assassin's
did.
Creed, Devil May Cry, God of War all had not only phenomenal experiences, but they translated visually to just look like fun as shit games on their own. Watching Kratos swing around the blades of Olympus, it just makes every
This
dude in the
game
room
is
look at it and
really
just say,
good.
Hell yeah. That's what you want from your games. For example, I personally have never pulled a fire alarm, but do you think that's ever stopped me from fantasizing about it every single time I walk into a room and see one?
I've done it. It's fun.
No, I mean, they're practically begging for it. Look what it's wearing. Same principle applies here. Now, take that same logic and apply it to Dark Souls, and watching some tanky dude fat rolling only to eat shit later and slowly earn the right to get another hit in is not screaming satisfying achievement. Not to say
I don't know. I kind of feel like it does, honestly.
it's not there. Its gameplay doesn't sell itself anywhere near as well as the other games in the franchise. Like, this is literally the gameplay footage that IGN showed when it was making its debut of the game to millions of people across the world.
I have played Demon Souls a lot, and now you move on to Dark Souls. It won't be much even with the online play.
It's just not sexy. And this is no surprise to the
Whoa.
developers. Even Miyazaki admitted this after he released Demon Souls at Tokyo Game Show, saying, quote, "You can't possibly understand its approach in 5 minutes." But aside from the gameplay, the actual graphics of the game aren't doing it any favors either. I personally love them. I think it rips. Sue me. I know it's nostalgia, the same way I look at like old PS2 games or something. I think it's beautiful. But let's be real.
I love Silent Hill. Holy shit. Just that, even that little chime that they have for that second, it's too much. I think the thing that separates it is the stylization of it, right? You already know that it's a Souls game just by looking at something. Even if the graphics and the mouths aren't moving and all that, I don't think that matters. Graphics aren't. Oh, yeah, sure. What's up, Kelly? Got you.
11 now. This console came
Is
out
that
in
better?
2006. Graphics have come a long ways, and we're actually at the end of the console's life cycle here. And this thing looks like some Call of
Voice is
Duty
fine?
3
Okay,
shit.
cool.
The standards have risen since then, and while graphics aren't everything, they're not nothing. After all, half the music I listen to on YouTube is solely determined by the thumbnail alone. I have zero
Very
clue
true.
what low poly drum and bass sounds like, but for some reason, this picture kind of tells me. Especially given that just a year prior, God of
true.
War released in 2010, which completely redefined what people expect graphically out of the system, and that game ran at double the frame rate of Dark Souls, which would barely hit 30 on a good day. I distinctly remember Blighttown running at a peanut buttery, chunky, smooth 15 frames per second. A lot of areas of this game would give it an FPS that would make Ocarina of Time look like an esport by comparison, which is even wilder when you consider that the thing that's making your system chug looks like that. The game
Yeah,
suffered
fuck
major performance
Blighttown.
difficulties, and that's without mentioning the load times,
Oh,
which
thanks,
after
Kelly.
every death would be anywhere
Hope you're
between
good.
3 to 5 business days. These are the more cosmetic aspects of Dark Souls that made it difficult for new players to stomach. But upon release, the game was very different than the household Prepare to Die edition we've all grown to love. The original Dark Souls gave out a fraction of the souls upon killing bosses, making leveling significantly harder. Enemy AI would aggro way further out and even close the doors behind you in tight.
Dude, I don't think people understand how fucked up this game was initially. It was insane. It was actually insane. I don't even know how to describe it. It was such a... It was stressful, but in a great way. It was really, really, really good. We reacted a little bit. We did a little bit of, setup and Vim for that stuff, but we're reacting now. Going on YouTube, homie.
Bases. Curses, which have your health, could stack, meaning you could permanently divide your health in half each time. Just some brutalist, unfun shit. This one
Just
guy
still
apparently made a
insane.
video documenting even more of the changes. It's a great watch. I don't want to steal his thunder. Go watch it. But for all the people that managed to get past those hurdles, for most people, the hardest thing was that there were just no resources to understand what any of this stuff meant in the game. When taking your first look at the menu, and I
true.
don't know if I'm being graded on a test. I don't know what candle means. Not quite sure what a covenant does. To this day, I still don't fully grasp how the upgrade system works, and people are still finding out hidden
pretty
mechanics
funny.
within the game like 10 years later. Many veterans of the series will actually encourage new
Yeah,
players to go
true.
in completely blind, and I think that's kind of a dickhead mentality. While I think people should avoid spoilers, I think every copy of the game should come with at least 3 to 4 older brothers that can educate you on just some of the more hidden mechanics of the game. Like the carry weight, for example, which
That guy's
can
dead.
completely alter the entire fundamental way the game is played, and it's never mentioned at all once. Thanks, game. Great design. Despite
But that's
all this,
okay.
though,
I think that's the charm of it, though, is that we don't know what the fuck it's all about, It's that's what makes it good. Bloodborne has such fucked up code. Oh, dude, I'm sure all of these games, dude. One thing I've learned: Japanese game devs are not good at writing code, but they're good at making good games. So who gives a fuck, right?
really well with the right audiences. And
She's
while it never
hot.
caught on to the mainstream at the start, you could argue that the very things that held it back initially were the very same things that
That's
led
the
to its
Butcher's
explosion
sword.
years later. By not catering to trends at the time, the game's
Dragon
baffling amount
Tooth.
of just not giving a fuck and leaving the player to their own devices ended up delivering players one of the most uniquely satisfying franchises in the history of gaming. Because while Dark Souls may have some of the most annoying player-hating mechanics,
Now you still understand the level design of Dark Souls is so good. It's so good, guys. It's so good.
it still understands that the most important thing at the end of the day
Yeah, that's how you
is
deal with it.
the experience.
It is. That's the most important part of the game.
I was hanging out with my boy Internet Pitstop while we were nerding out about the Dark Souls games when he brought a pretty interesting article to my attention. Miyazaki has had his works compared to the Zelda franchise numerous times, and they were such a huge inspiration for him when he was in school. When he was asked to comment on it, he goes on record saying that he thought his series wasn't even deserving to be mentioned in the same breath as Zelda.
Damn.
However, in that very same article, he makes the distinction that in Zelda games, you're often guided along an epic journey that's laid out before you as the player.
It's
But
true.
in Dark Souls, you get lost. And I can't think of a better way to describe this overall series. At the time, Dark Souls did something that no other games were doing upon release. That was A, shut the fuck up, and B, let the player get completely lost with minimal direction, allowing the player to be guided solely by their own curiosity. And it's reflected
This is... I'm gonna shut up.
every aspect of this game. Upon booting the game up for the first time, you might be surprised that regardless of its reputation, there's no emergency lights or bells or whistles or a waiver to sign away your rights to a safe word. Instead, you're greeted with some underwater ambience while you spend an hour customizing a character that you'll probably
Spermy.
never see again in the game. The actual atmosphere of Dark Souls runs in stark contrast to its obnoxious reputation, giving it this kind of fairy tale, dreamlike, ketamine-filled aesthetic that runs through every corner of this game.
Oh shit. Who put this vent in my Estus? I'm so lit, I'm hearing the character creation music playing again.
It's a game that doesn't even have background music for half the time, letting you just bask in its atmosphere. Dark Souls is very quiet in its approach. Its deliberate lack of music entrusts the player to leave the world's interpretation solely to your discretion. A theme that runs through every vein of its gameplay, storytelling, and who gives a shit, why am I telling you this? Because
No, it's a big deal. We do give a shit why you're telling us this. It's because games don't do this anymore. It's like if you go to like any game, they'll tell you exactly what to do. They'll have like a whole screen and it'll just be like, this is exactly where you're meant to go. This is exactly what buttons you're meant to press. But just being thrown into there, like when you played Mario, like you didn't get any explanation, maybe a little bit in 64, and you would like hit a block and it would be like, the princess is like messed up and she's in Bowser's castle or whatever, right? But you know, that element of just being submerged, like you are just like a guy there in the world, like old Battlefront or Battlefield. Sorry, no, Star Wars Battlefront. Like you were just like some guy in the middle of, which was a good game. I hate Star Wars, but that game was good. You were just one of those white dudes that was the evil white dudes. Not like, I don't know what they fucking call them in Star Wars, but the white guys that were Darth Vadered. I don't know, stormtroopers, I think, or something. I forget. You know, you were just that guy, you know? Yeah. Old Battlefront was top. It was really good. Yeah, stormtroopers, exactly. They're very good. Like, but it was just like you got thrown into it and you were just that. And like, it was cool. You like discovered that unknown aspect of it. That was like a really big deal. And I think that's really important in a video game. I think the aspect of Dark Souls, what made people love it, it was a simple, open-ended exploration, night and day compared to God of War. Exactly. 100%. Cat. Framp. Yes. Like, I remember this chest. This is such a like core memory. ODST? I don't think I know what that is, to be honest.
you do accomplish something in the game. Now the question remains how much frustration should actually be
Oh,
there
my
to
bad.
give you that authentic feeling of reward, because in this game it's a little bit off kilter. There are areas that don't feel like much trouble. There are things that feel so incredibly batshit retarded that why the f would they ever leave that in? No good game designer would put that there intentionally.
No, it needs to be in.
Yeah, here it is. But despite some of its annoying runbacks and some unrefined areas, the sheer volume and freedom afforded to the player means that you're
Fuck
the
that
only
guy.
thing holding yourself back. Aside from a few locked walls, the only thing that's restricting your discovery is your own perception and desire to explore. Because in Dark
Irish.
Souls, you're supposed to play in
Scottish.
the out of bounds. The invisible walls are only there to help you explore further. Because in this game, if you can see it, you can probably go there. Thanks in no small part due to its
Yeah, the map design is probably the most top tier part of it. I've been playing some older action games. They were all in that cutscene Q2E train. Feels relatively so annoying. Exactly, yeah. And sometimes it's good, but like most of the time they fuck it up. It's just sort of like a. It's hard to say. It can go both ways, right? I've never played Halo. Only one multiplayer, and a couple of times I'd like hop in someone's Warthog, and that's it. But I do plan on playing it, and I do plan on playing it on stream. I bought that collection, and I want to do it maybe with you guys. I know Kelly and I were thinking about doing it, and if other people want to join.
Out of all of the Souls games, the original is the only title to feature a one-world open linear map design. For the most part. The entire world snakes through itself in a miasma of castles, forests, ruins, Jewish tunnels, and caves, all connected through secret passages that loop back around to previously found checkpoints.
It was
it's
foretold.
an impressive addition to the game world that gives you that feeling of, oh, I actually know where I am, after not knowing where you are for 4 hours, only to go back out and forget again. But I never really gave that much of a shit about it. I still feel like it baits out a lot of misplaced praise for what actually makes the level design so fantastic. I've seen plenty of interconnected worlds done in many other games, and they're not talked about nearly as much as Dark Souls 1's. Because at the end of the day, it matters what's in the game world itself that makes it noteworthy. I look at the interconnected worlds the same way I would like a nice glass or a fancy straw. It's a fun addition, but it all depends on what I'm drinking that's going to keep me slurping.
Hell yeah, me
in Dark
too.
Souls, the
We'll do
looping
it.
world isn't what's inspiring me to adventure. It's the dreamlike environments themselves and all the extra content hidden away in them. It's the fact that I can do things out of order. It's the fact that I can miss double-digit hours of content because I might have missed a hidden path behind not one, but 2 invisible walls, only to wind up at some of the coolest areas in the game.
The first time you go to Ash Lake, that's probably one of like gamer moments, like 101. Like it's like top level. It's like the Evo moment 37, but for like this type of game, right? The first time you see that Hydra and then the sand and like the vastness and like in the background the big pillars of here, does it show it? Not necessarily. It's after this part. But what he's talking about, like the biggest I think aspect of it is like the master key. If you get the master key as one of your first items that you choose, or I forgot what they call it, but you just get it at the beginning of the game. Like that was like one of the ways they implemented it. And then you go up that tower and then you cross that bridge and you go to the fat guys with the big clubs going to Quillag's thing. So well done.
Behind not one, but 2 invisible walls, only to wind up at some of the coolest areas in the game. It's the fact that every corner of this world feels like a destination, deliberately placed with intention, which rewards keen observation. It's the reason people try jumping near a cliff surrounded by 10 bloodstains and still try jumping. Because sometimes try jumping gets you something.
It does. Whoa.
The world is constantly teasing you to think outside the box and test its own boundaries. There is a great satisfaction to finding those looping shortcuts, and the lack of loading screens does help immersion. But I don't see why that satisfaction can't be replaced with the portal or just an easier means of warping. And the lack of having the warp at the start of the game does rain on my parade a bit, knowing I still have to backtrack for 5 minutes, even with the shortcut unlocked. Some people say it encourages exploration, but I found the opposite to be true because I didn't want to get stuck resting at a bonfire that would force me to climb my way back out the way I came. Regardless of all that, the world design is still incredibly well thought out. Every step you take in this game makes you think twice about where you're going.
To be honest, though, I kind of disagree with that. I think you kind of need that because then it makes the warping like, oh, holy shit, now we can do that. You know, in the same way that every time you get a new item in Zelda, it's like, oh, the hook shot thing. Like, wow, you know, like it's a big deal. So it's like you've been walking all this time. It's like if you get a horse in Minecraft, it's like, holy shit. You know, I think it's important.
Intention. Okay, it's pretty well thought out. What's even more impressive though is that searching through the world you won't find just simple upgraded weapons with rare, epic, or legendary statuses as you progress. Instead, each fragment of armor, each sword, shield, and item come with a name and a story. Even the most mundane objects reveal something about the person carrying it, their true intentions, ulterior motives, offering insights about the area itself that tell the true story of what's really going on in this world. The best part is it allows one of the heaviest stories that exists in gaming to be completely non-intrusive, allowing me to just sit back and roleplay as a illiterate Neanderthal who's not too educated in the fine arts of delayed gratification. Thankfully, people much smarter than I have pieced the story together and are still working on it to this day, leaving me to just sit back to enjoy the game.
He does that every time. Damn.
Without going into super specifics, because I already know that you know how the Souls games work, except for like 2 of you. Hi, Mom and Dad. I will say that all the mechanics of the Dark Souls games all
Nice.
exist within a vacuum outside of the others, with their own sets of rules and logic. Dark Souls 1 takes a slower, almost more cerebral approach, where player actions are much more of a long-term commitment in terms of time and stamina. Some of these windups come with like a 30-year mortgage. Unlike Dark Souls 3, shields actually work, armor actually matters, and spamming rolls would get you killed more often than not. If Dark Souls 3 is a dance,
Quillag.
Dark Souls 1 is sumo wrestling. Where DS3 felt more rhythmic, rewarding player for their reaction time, the tempo of DS1 almost feels like turn-based in comparison. A player from each game will most likely hate the combat of the other until they can get acclimated to it. Although DS1 probably offered the most in terms of variety in its combat of the trio. Since you weren't forced to just twink around rolling 24/7, doing things like two-handing your weapon as a strength build would massively increase your damage output. You can be a ninja just as much as you want to be a tank, which is something that wouldn't be rewarded as much in later games. That and the magic and pyromancy in the game was completely busted too, so you had a ton of different viable options to play this game however you wanted. Even though it feels clunky as shit, the fact that you can play this game completely out of order and with so many different player styles gave it a ton of replayability that the later games didn't offer as well since they were a little bit more clamped down on your exploration. One of the reasons the combat in Dark Souls felt so satisfying though, and this is something that spans the entire series, is that general enemies take anywhere from about 2 to 5 hits to dispatch on average. On average. The difficulty of the game doesn't come from just artificial boosting of enemy health pools, but instead puts the onus of survival on your own skillmanship. Nothing in this game is outside of your ability to overcome it. However, the key thing though is that the game doesn't just make you improve on skill alone, you also have the means to improve your weapon quality and increase your levels, resulting in you outputting higher damage, requiring less inputs to take out enemies. Even just
to be fair, like you can basically OP yourself up and like not even worry about ever getting hit once you get to a certain level, you know. He's 100% cooking. That's why I'm not stopping it at all. But I have to, otherwise this shit gets taken down. So just for context.
Feels massive over the course of these games, where a lot of other sword fighting games would diminish your experience by having you slowly chip away at enemy health bars. While I do love the combat of this game, it still feels quite dated compared to some of the later installments in the series. Boss fights, while grand in presentation, kind of fall flat, leaving much to be desired in terms of movesets.
Okay, now he's hating.
Bosses, the game just throws a smorgasbord of frustrating level design mechanics where gravity seems to kind of pick and choose when to kill you. And once you feel like you have your feet under you, the game will just throw like some rickety ass bridge to throw you off your tone. Like, what the fuck was that for?
It's
previously, if you had brought any of this up to players at the time, you'd be stonewalled with the automatic get good, which would often act as a deflection against any sincere and valid criticism. Although I will say I do like the culture of just not allowing any excuses whatsoever, because there is still no shortage of people that will just complain of this game without getting better themselves.
100%.
The reason I bring all this up though,
yeah, I think that's this shit was jank. You can't even lie. It was, but I think it's kind of like critiquing an artist or whatever they're doing, right? Like, you kind of have to accept the vision that they're going for. Otherwise, it will be kind of weird. Could you imagine that? Like, if you were you're listening to a Pink Floyd album, and then you're like, this song sucks, right? And then they change it, right? And then it's like kind of something that you like. And then they're like, okay, let's change the second song, right? And then it's two things that are kind of like in line with what you like. You're eventually going to make everything seem the same. And you need the bullshit. It's kind of like you can never have a truly balanced game, right? Like even in Tekken, right? You have to have like a variety of characters. Some of them have to be much better than the other ones. Like they have to have that diversity and like how good they are. Otherwise, like a perfectly balanced game is bullshit. But you need the bullshit in order to have a perfectly balanced game. Bars.
I convinced one of my good YouTube buddies to give Dark Souls 1 a try after he'd previously loved Elden Ring, Dark Souls 3, and enjoyed Sekiro above all the others. Yeah, I know, he's one of those guys. After I was watching him play for a bit, I started to get that same feeling of like,
they only speak Chinese.
Whenever you show your good friend that really funny YouTube video, it's been like 3 minutes and they haven't laughed yet, and you can start to feel your social credit being deducted. He absolutely hated the game, and I just kind of rolled my eyes and hit him with a couple get goods, because that's the same exact shit he said when he played Dark Souls 3 for the first time, and he ended up loving that. After all, the human brain will always try to rationalize and make excuses to justify emotions, regardless of accuracy. Except he kept on hating the game, at least in terms of the other Souls games that he's played, and he started to bring up some valid criticism that I happen to agree with. Like some of the backtracking, enemy placements, the unfinished second half of the game, some of the level design and unfair bullshit that's anti-player, the RNG factor, the lack of thrilling boss fights, etc., etc. It's easy to find flaws within every single corner of this game. It's far from perfect. But there's one thing that stood out to me as a testament to this game's core design, and it's the reason I still put it above so many others out there despite its flaws. No matter how much he was bitching to me and bemoaning all the problems with the game, and making me feel like a dumbass for even recommending it to him, he kept coming back to it, and he eventually beat it. And you don't do that shit to games you don't
That's
enjoy.
the only way I figured out how to beat the game, too. This guy's fucking hard.
Or at least don't completely hate. I would like to talk far more about the actual mechanics of Dark Souls 1, but I'm actually going to be opening that can of worms when I talk about Dark Souls 2, which...
This guy's really good at editing, by the way. I want to learn how to do this shit.
Is going to be far more in depth. I've been wanting to make that video even longer than this one. If you want to kindle the channel and get recognized in the video, your support on Patreon means the world to me, and I appreciate every single dollar you throw my way. There's also some extra tutorials and behind the scenes of how I even make these videos in the first place, if that's something that interests you.
Dude, yeah, 100%. What the fuck?
I won't update
I
you
would
on
love
anything
to know.
that I'm doing, and I'll see you later.
Wow. What a good YouTuber, dude. I think he was a Hollywood editor at some point. Well, that makes a lot of fucking sense, dude. This guy was awesome. This guy was really, really awesome. Oh. Weird. Okay, anyway. That was fucking awesome. There's the link. That was really sick. This guy is really good. I did not know. I've never seen the... He's not... There's another guy. That Elden Ring video bangs too. I'm sure of it. That was really good. Yeah, I completely agree with him on like all of this shit. For the most part, you know. There are obviously things that you can say are better and worse for Dark Souls, but it's at the end of the day, it is like you are basically embracing Miyazaki's vision, and that's what I think is like the important thing. And that's what I think is wrong with like Tekken 8 or like even most modern AAA games. It's like they don't really have a like one dude's vision. It's committees that are basically adding all of their bullshit together. Oh, what's up, Louise? Yeah, I would say basically that like the one I just realized the last one is tongue butthole. Yeah, like I think the real thing that like the real like takeaway from this is that you need one guy's vision. I mean, look at it. He was doing all this shit like the I honestly don't remember where he did it, but like it showed like Miyazaki basically wrote every single line, every single yeah, I'm not going to be able to find it, but he basically wrote every single line, every single like description, everything. All one guy, one complete vision. If you have more than one, maybe two people can do it, but if you have like more than just like one or two people's like vision, you'll just get a bunch of hogwash and a bunch of bullshit. Like everyone else has to just be in line with that. And not only like in the fact that he gave everyone like the artistic freedom to go hard. I think that was smart, right? But as far as like the cohesive everything, you have to have a good director. Otherwise it's going to suck, you know, AKA, you know, fuck Harada at this point, you know. It's not even his fault, but that's kind of what the consumer is going to believe.